All right, welcome in. Cube Show, college football podcast, coming to you each and every Sunday. We're going to switch it up here through the offseason, go a couple different directions. I'm going to get back to our top transfers at different positions, but I had an interesting conversation this week on my radio show about the top defenses in the SEC. And it really got me thinking about which one of these groups is going to stand ahead of the others. We're so used to every year coming back saying, oh, this LSU defense is going to be dominant. Bama's going to be dominant again. Look at the known commodities on Georgia's defense. I think last year coming back, a lot of us were confident that South Carolina's defense was going to be good. Maybe exceeded those expectations with the addition of Dylan Stewart and company. So we usually have a great idea of defenses that are going to succeed. A lot of folks were high on the Ole Miss defense last year with what they added through the portal. There's been some Florida, some Auburn defenses that we were high on. Tennessee, we knew with that defensive line last year was going to be strong, but how much further past the expectations could they go? So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at right now, and I realize there's another portal window that can open, so you can lose some guys, like Tennessee just lost a corner a couple weeks ago, or you can gain some guys that are going to be able to help what you've got coming back. But as we stand here today, either in the middle of or going into spring practice for all these SEC teams, who are our top 5 SEC defenses for 2025? Before we get into it, as you guys know, we're brought to you each and every week by Wickles Pickles because they are wickedly delicious. We love Wickles Pickles. We have them. We always snack on them. We always have them around the house. If you can't get them in your grocery store, go to WicklesPickles.com. You can have them drop shipped to your house and just get them there. Wickles Pickles are wickedly delicious. This is the best pickle you'll ever have. If you're looking for a little bit of a healthier snack, this is your way to go. Wickles Pickles. If you see them on a menu item, make sure you grab it or tell them you want to add it to your menu item. Wherever you are, different places around. They sponsor the show. We appreciate them. Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. All right, let's start looking at these defenses. I'm going to do this a couple of ways. I want to go through my top 5 right now, but then I want to talk about try to get something in on every group, maybe why they didn't make it, what we're looking for, some issues that we may have, because they all have bigger concerns, I think, collectively than what we've seen in a lot of other seasons at this point on the calendar. So there are some that we feel good about, but still have some real question marks. And the one question mark I think that we're going to hit with just about every group is depth. That's pretty much across all of college football now. SEC defenses, I think, are razor thin compared to where they once were, specifically from guys that we've actually seen play football. There's just not a ton of those out there. So let's begin. Let's get it going. And we'll start at number 5, and that is the Georgia Bulldogs. And I know a lot of people are going to see this and say, wait a second, they've been the standard. They've been the guys. Like, how can you not have Georgia at 1, 2, or 3? I understand it, and I get it. And I do think that there's more to like than some people are giving this group credit for right now. Late in the year, we saw Xavier McLeod, 94 for Georgia, do some good things when he was in a defensive tackle. I think he can strike and shed. I think he's got good quickness, good twitch for a guy his size. He can be effective inside. Christian Miller's played some good football. Thought he came on as the year progressed last season. Didn't get a ton of snaps, but the snaps that he got, I thought were good. I think he can help. We've seen Jordan Hall, 44, help out a little bit with this Georgia defense. Off the edge, I don't know if you're going to have what you've had the last couple of years. Gabe Harris is an interesting body for this Georgia defense, somebody who I love. Guy's like a human wrecking ball. Like, he just wants to bend your face mask. But he moved down inside a little bit more last year. So is he going to try to be a hand in that day defensive end? Is he going to try to go down to D tackle? Can he still rush off the edge? I know he's the attitude, the demeanor, and the physicalness that you like, but I don't know where he really fits in. I'll say this. If I'm going to take a reach on somebody on this Georgia defense, it's going to be Raylan Wilson, because this kid can flat out run, and I think he can punish you when he meets you with the football. So with he and C.J. Allen back at linebacker, you know you're going to have some speed and athleticism. They're going to be able to track the ball down. I don't think there's too much of a concern there. You go back behind that, and obviously K.J. Bolden returns, Dalen Everett's back, and Aguero's back on that back end as well. The secondary, I don't think, is going to be too far off from what it was a season ago. I think the linebacker position can be good. It's just, what does the next wave of linebacker look like? We haven't seen a ton of the next guys, and I don't know if you have that individual disruptor up front that Georgia has had so many of in the past. But this group deserves and is going to get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. 1, the structure, the coaching, you know it's going to be great. 2, they've recruited extremely well. So just overall talent, it's going to be there. And I'm never going to be the guy to sit here and tell you, well, he's a 5-star. He has to be good. But when you got 55 stars or 35 stars on your team, whatever it is, some of them are going to be good. And there's a better chance they're going to be a lot better than other guys that are good at their positions. So I'll give Georgia some benefit of the doubt. Not that they really should need it, but I know some people are going to look at the exact bodies that are back and the production they've put up. Speaking of production, if you go to Bill Connolly's S&P rankings, Georgia defense ranks 93rd in returning production. There's a lot of prowess gone from that group. You look at what they lost. I thought Warren Brinson was vastly underrated last year up front. Stackhouse, Ty Ingram Dawkins, both played good football. Smile Munden played a ton of football, even though he was a little dinged last year. Jalen Walker, do-it-all, move-around guy. Chambliss off the edge. Dan Jackson at safety. Malachi Starks. There's just a lot of reps, a lot of tackles, a lot of TFL sacks that are going to be gone, which means some leadership's going to be gone. Doesn't mean the group can't be really good. I just don't know if it can be exactly what it's been the last few years. Coming in at number 4, Oklahoma. Once again, I think it's easy to nitpick this group and easy for people that view surface level things only to say, yeah, it's not going to be close. Look at the star power that you lost. Danny Stutzman's gone. Billy Bowman's gone. Even if you looked at Ethan Downs, Trace Ford off the edge, it's just not going to be able to be the same. All fair points, but when you just focus a little bit more in on what is returning and what they have done, they got a chance to be pretty damn good. We'll start with this. Oklahoma in the portal, they go get Marvin Jones Jr. from Florida State and Georgia, a guy that has the body to be able to be a problem. Now, I am interested to see how they plug him into their system when they use him because he's not the super twitchy edge guy like I just mentioned with Ford and Downs. Also, is a little bit longer than I think a lot of what Oklahoma usually has, but he can play ball. So I think that's going to help. You also go and get linebacker Kendall Davis from Oklahoma State to be able to add in on that back end, the second level. But up front is where I like this group. Jaden Jackson, as a freshman, played really good football at D tackle last year. Demonic Williams was one of the most high-profile transfers last year. He'll be back. David Stone did some good things. I thought Grayson Halton was awesome for this Oklahoma defense last year. I mean, there were times where I thought he might be the best player on that defense with some of the things that he was doing and how he was operating. So don't think that up front, all of a sudden, Oklahoma's not going to be good or not going to be dangerous. And you go take a couple of the guys like Marvin Jones Jr. that can help you off the edge. R. Mason Thomas is going to be back off the edge. He was a problem in a lot of games. And Kit Lewis is going to return from injury at linebacker. One of the faster linebackers in all of college football. So he's going to be able to cover ground. You have both Bowens, Eli, and Peyton back, as well as Kendall Dolby. So I think that they have enough experience, enough leadership back, even though Billy Bowman, Danny Stutzman were incredible. You might not have the star power of those two, but I think collectively you're going to have a ton of talent, guys that have played in this scheme, and you let Venables go back and coach it. I'm going to feel pretty good about that. There's no reason not to when he gets his hands back on it. Regardless of what he's doing as a head coach, you know he's going to be able to coordinate that defense. I like this Oklahoma group. I'm going to put them 4, and honestly, I could make a real argument to have them ahead of that. But because of the major upside, major star potential that's gone with a lot of leadership, I'll knock them down to 4 and probably tell you myself, I went through this list 7, 8 different times, 7, 8 different ways. I don't love them at 4, but that's where they're going to be for this practice because that's where I had them written down. Guys, I keep telling you, Fanatics Live, it's the way to get in and get back into the hobby without spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on some of these boxes of cards. If you have one team, one player that you're chasing, it's easy. Go to that Fanatics Live app right there. Click that, and you're going to be able to get into hundreds of different breaks with all kind of cards, even wrestling cards, Pokemon cards, if that's what you're looking for. Disney cards you can get into. They've got everything right there. You're just going to scroll up, pick whatever you want, find one that you like, and then bam, all of a sudden you're going to roll right into it. You go in here, this Topps Finest Football is out now. Look at that. I'll hit my guys' pizza pulls right now. And there they are. My boy Theron is in there rolling with some football. I think he's got Topps Chrome football. I think he's got Topps Finest football. You can get into that every Tuesday at Fanatics Live. Go to fanaticslive.com or just download the app. The link that we have here, thanks to Pizza Pulls, you go right in there. You'll get $25 to start right now when you sign up with that link. Go get on some college football every Tuesday. We're going to be ripping it again this Tuesday. Last time out, Brady Cook auto, Mizzou quarterback. Tetior McMillan, auto to 15 right there we pulled. Davidson Igbinosun, Ohio State corner, auto right there. Torrey Horton out of USF, jumbo patch autograph. I mean, that thing is freaking sweet. You can do all this at Fanatics Live. It's easy if you want to get back into the hobby, or if there's something specific in the hobby you're looking to get and want to try to get, but you don't want to spend all the money. This is where you make it happen. Live Golf Prism is out now. You can go get some golf cards. Wrestling, like I said, Pokemon, Disney, everything under the sun. Bowman Draft, you want to go minor league baseball, get some prospects. It's all there. You can chase memorabilia on fanaticslive.com as well. I'm on there every Tuesday, pizza pulls, breaking college football and NFL cards, probably getting into some baseball soon, but we want to see you there. To get back into the hobby the best way, the only way, fanaticslive.com. Go to Pizza Pulls when you're inside, and never forget to mention that you heard about them right here on Cube Show, and I'll see you guys there on Tuesday. I'll go Alabama at 3. And I think Alabama is the poster child of if everything stays right, this defense is going to be really good. But if it's like last year and you lose a Quay Rousseau to injury and you have a couple linebackers dinged up and you lose another edge defender, there could be some problems. If you have the issues in the secondary like you did last year, it's going to be a problem. But up front, I do think it's a little bit better than people are giving it credit for. Now, is it Quinnen Williams? Is it Jonathan Allen? No, maybe not. But LT Overton exceeded my expectations last year. I thought he played good football. I thought he played consistent football. Tim Keenum's been good for a while. He's going to be rock solid in the middle of your defense. Not the ultimate disruptor, but he's going to help other people make plays, and he can make some things happen on his own. James Smith, 23, is the guy people need to be talking about. Heavy-handed, active, didn't play more than 15, 18 snaps a game last year, I don't believe. But when he was in, he caused problems. And I might have that snap count wrong, but I just didn't think until later in the year he was a regular guy, and then he got going a little bit more. Quay Rousseau, if healthy, I think can be a bona fide edge guy. Like, I think he can be somebody off the edge that causes real problems, has real twitch. I think he has good pass rush ability. He's someone who I think they're waiting just for him to stay healthy and get out there and be able to go. You got Jamarian Latham, Yanze Pierre, who I know they're excited about last year. So I think there are more bodies that can do different things up front. It's just the bodies that are more capable in certain spots. It doesn't mean that there's just more at every spot. I don't know if edge and D tackle are very deep. Linebackers, definitely not deep. I would not be surprised to see Alabama go get a D tackle and an off-the-ball linebacker this time around in the portal, because Justin Jefferson can fly and he's a good player. Deontay Lawson might be the best off-the-ball linebacker returning in college football. There's not a ton that's proven after that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go get one more. Bray Hubbard's played. Keon Saz played at Michigan and Bama. Xavier Brown had great snaps last year. So the secondary, with Xavier mentioned and Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., has decent numbers, but not great numbers. And especially if you were to see some injuries early, I think it could be a little bit problematic. But keep in mind, this is year 2 in this scheme, in this defense, which was very different than what they were doing before. And I know that they went in and Kane Womack tried to sort of mix and match some things to keep it similar to what it was, but it's going to be what it is now. And they're going to have to learn it, and it's going to be a little different, and they're going to operate in some ways that they may not have been familiar with, but they have the bodies to be able to be one of the better groups in the league if they're healthy. So we'll see exactly how it goes, but I have some confidence. If they were at 4 or 5, I don't think I'd be mad about it. Just because the depth thing, I think, is a real concern for what Alabama potentially is going to be. Number 2 is where y'all are really going to get pissed off, so just go ahead and get ready for it. I got Missouri at the number 2 defense in the SEC right now, and everybody is probably clicking back or next or whatever the hell, and that's fine. According to the S&P rankings, by the way, going back to Oklahoma, 60%, that ranks 46 of the production they have coming back. Georgia, we mentioned 48% at 93. Alabama, 62%, which would rank 37th. Missouri, 76% back, which would rank 5th. However, that's not the real reason that this is where it is. It's just a little bit of an added benefit, because we'll get to some of these as we talk about the others where I'll go completely against that number and say I think they're going to be good or not great, and the numbers say something totally different. But there's a lot of experience back. Chris McClellan came in from Florida, did good things on that defensive line. Zion Young came in, did some good things at defensive end for that defense. Now you add Damon Wilson at linebacker from Georgia, who is an athletic freak show that you can line up off the edge and he can rush, play him off the ball. He's got speed. They just don't have a lot of guys like him. And I think losing Marcus Carroll, Christian Williams is going to hurt, but they have other D tackles that they can roll that have played, like Sterling Webb, who I think are going to be just fine. I think the bodies up front are capable, and there's a little more depth than maybe at some other places. Josiah Trotter comes in as well as linebacker. Tristan Newsom's back, played really good football for this group a year ago. And the guy that nobody knows about is number 1, Marvin Burks Jr. If you are looking for a safety who is willing to put his body on the line on a regular basis and has absolutely no regard for his physical health, the way he comes down and puts his shoulder pads into people, Marvin Burks Jr. is that guy. Now, was he consistent all of last year? No. Made some big plays. Made some plays where he was out of position because he was trying to take some of those shots. Give him another year, and I think he'll be one of the better safeties in the Southeastern Conference. There's linebackers with speed, linebackers with athleticism. There's disruptors up front. They have good edge presence. I think this defense has a chance to be great. And it's also year 2, keep in mind, under this new scheme, which I think you look at, all right, comfort levels there, maybe be able to add a few things. So I like Missouri personnel. I like where they are from the standpoint of leadership and the guys that they added. It didn't seem like they just went and tried to add as many as possible. They went and met their needs, and they went and got guys that have played meaningful football. So, I mean, I think all in all, when you look at all those things added together, taking a linebacker from West Virginia, taking an edge defender from Georgia, guys that you need that can help, I think that's all there. Then the last one that I'll mention that I don't really know how to reference it because Jalen Catalon's played in the SEC. He played in Arkansas. He played at Texas. When he played, he was good. He was really good. It's fun to watch. Problem is, he only really played a lot at UNLV last year, and he was healthy. And I talked to Barry Odom about him, and he's like, we got the guy that everybody thought they had. This kid can play, and you put him next to Marvin Burks Jr., and all of a sudden you're covering some ground and you're laying some lumber. I'm not going to say they're the 2 best cover safeties in college football, but sometimes that's not necessarily what you need. If he's healthy, he adds a lot to this defense. First off, experience-wise, a ton. You look at a guy like Jaron Thompson at Auburn last year. Even though he didn't make, 15, 20 plays a game, it was the leadership you kept hearing people talk about down there, holding guys accountable, getting people lined up. It's just another portion of this that's going to be added to what that defense might end up being. So I love the experience level. I love how they look pretty good up the middle on this defense and how active they're going to be just by scheme and by nature. So with more experience, obviously, in that scheme, I'll take Missouri at number 2. Number 1, this was not a very difficult decision. It's the Texas Longhorns. And there are a couple of really easy places to start here. Probably the best tandem of edge defenders in the league. You go back and watch Trey Moore 3 years ago at UTSA. He was ripping it up. Had good reps last year here. Now he's got Colin Simmons opposite him, who blew up on the scene as a freshman last year with different length and a different skill set. And you're going to have to manage both of those guys off the edge if you're trying to throw the football. Well, here comes the ultimate wild card in linebacker Anthony Hill Jr., who can be sideline to sideline and make plays, can be a thumper when he comes downhill and cause problems, and set the tone early like he did Michigan last year, or you can line him up off the edge and rush the passer, or you can blitz him inside, and he's going to be problematic there. He is a do-it-all linebacker that adds a little bit of shit to this defense. I don't know another way to say it. We were out there watching practice with Sark during the season this year, and I said, Coach, it feels like Zero kind of bringing something different to the defense this year. He said, yeah, and we talked about it in the offseason, told him we needed it. He said, listen, I'll put it this way. He adds a lot of prick to our defense, and our defense needed that. And he adds it in the exact right ways. So that's the kind of guy on the field that you're getting for this Texas defense. Here's the low-hanging fruit, which we're going to have for every team. Well, the defensive tackle took a hit again. Well, nobody thought they could replace Sweat and Murphy, and everybody thought they were going to get gutted up the middle of that defense last year, and they didn't. Yes, Baron Sorrell moved in and out. He was good. Alfred Collins, great. Vernon Broughton, great. But Cole Brevard comes in, Travis Shaw comes in, Hiro Kanu comes in. So you go to the portal and get multiple capable bodies at the position that you had to have. You absolutely had to have them. Brevard out of Purdue, a little bit more of a run stopper, kind of an anchor. Shaw has a little bit more ability to get side to side than he does out of North Carolina, but they both played meaningful snaps, and they can both be good additions to this defense. Also, you've got Kobe Black and Michael Taft back in the secondary, as well as a couple of other guys that helped you last year, like Jalen Gilbo played a lot last year. I know you take a hit with Andrew McCuba being gone. You obviously take a hit with Jahdae Barron, probably from the mental, emotional side just as much as the ability side. But Sark did a better job of playing more people last year. And when you look at just up front, that combination of edge rushers, the off-the-ball linebacker presence, a safety like Taft that can get everybody lined up, and the fact that you've been recruiting the way that you have been. All right, guys, don't forget about Blue Delta jeans, the most comfortable pair of jeans you're ever going to wear. The best fit denim for you because they're custom fit for you. That's right. They're made just for you, cut for your body at Blue Delta Jeans. Go to bluedeltajeans.com right now. They can do this digitally. If you want, they have gift cards. You go see them right there in Oxford. Not to mention they're traveling all about. You can catch them somewhere, wherever they are. Go follow them on social and see where they're going to be headed next. I wear mine out. I dress them up, dress them down comfortable. They're stretchy, breathable. They're just the best. And the best pair of jeans I've ever had. You won't want another pair because of how comfortable these are. And the fact that they're fit for you, it's going to lean you up, make you look better, make you look cleaner. No more sloppy jean look walking around. Go to bluedeltajeans.com today and tell them you heard about them right here on Cube Show. I'll take Texas as the #1 defense in the Southeastern Conference, at least right now going into the season. Do I have some concerns about them? Yeah, I do. I think there are a few minor holes and a few areas of concern. But as we just ran through it, that's with every defense. So you go through any of these defenses right now, I'll say this. It was really hard keeping LSU out of that top 5. Now, 2 of your better players are injured and not going to go through spring practice, even though Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins are expected to be back 100% by fall. They're still not going through spring ball. Now, it'll be year 2 in that system under Blake Baker. It should be a little bit better. How scary is the front? I don't know. But I do like this. You go get Patrick Payton from Florida State, Jack Pyburn from Florida. I think Jack Pyburn fits in with what you have. And I think Blake Baker will be more adept to just finding ways to turn guys loose this year. Because think about it, we know what Perkins can do when he just is allowed to see ball, get ball, and just go attack mode. Whit Weeks is a heat-seeking missile that just, you turn him loose and he figures out how to blow things up. I think Jack Pyburn can be the same way, regardless of what the demands were. When the guy gets on the field, he can be a problem. And he's a little bit more of a problem with just, hey, go wreck shop than he is sort of read, react, play great technique. Now, I don't know if the secondary is going to be elite like we've seen LSU secondaries be in the past. Just like I don't think their defensive line inside is going to be elite, but it could be good enough and it's going to be better because it's going to be deeper than last year. So it's tough for me to keep LSU off this list. I think Florida's a sneaky team that could end up being on this list. And I know that everybody on planet Earth that doesn't live in Gainesville is down on Florida and just doesn't think that anybody they have or anything they have can be any good. It's not the case. Like Tyreek Sapp can play. Caleb Banks can play. Caleb Banks right now might be the interior defensive lineman in this league with the most twitch and the most side-to-side just ability to shake you and be able to run past you. Pup Howard played great football for them last year at linebacker. So, I mean, he can play. They've got some guys that have played a lot of football, and they have guys individually that can be a problem. And that's one thing you go through this list. There's a small handful of teams that you feel like truly have one guy that can take over a game. Like South Carolina's got Dylan Stewart, and there ain't nobody on earth that's going to tell me he can't take over a game. There's just not a lot of teams with that guy. Go back to Alabama. Who's the takeover guy on that defense? I mean, Deontay Lawson essentially could be, but off-the-ball linebacker, I think, is rarely that guy in today's football. There are ways to avoid you. There are ways to steal your eyes. There are ways to do things to sort of remove your effectiveness on the game. Now, you have to run that kind of stuff, but I think it's all feasible and possible. South Carolina was a team that was hard to keep off this list. And mainly, the main thing was just so much leadership, so much production being gone. 46% of their production back, according to Bill Connolly. That's 99th in college football. Once again, that's not the end-all, be-all. That doesn't say everything. But when you talk about what was gone at defensive tackle first, Hemingway, Sanders, like Boogie Huntley, like those dudes played a ton of ball. And to think that you're just going to replace that, I can't. Not to mention Kyle Kennard off the edge, who helped Dylan Stewart be able to do the things that he did. Then you get Debo Williams, Demetrius Knight gone at linebacker, Nick Emmanuel-Wari, O'Donnell Fortune gone in the secondary. It's just a ton of snaps, a ton of production, and a very large number of very good football players. Doesn't mean that Dylan Stewart won't be great. Doesn't mean, and I'll say this about Shane that he probably deserves more credit for. I think Shane has a higher hit rate on portal guys than a lot of other coaches in the SEC. The problem is, they have a better hit rate on guys that you've never heard of. Nobody was talking about Kyle Kennard coming in here ripping it up last year. Anybody out there say Joshua Simon was going to be one of the keys to their offense for 2 years, a Western Kentucky tight end transfer? Not me. Now, we knew Rocket Sanders had a chance to be pretty good. Like some of these guys, yeah, it's easy to pick those. but he's gone to other places and found, I mean, you go get a running back from D3 a couple of years ago, and he comes in and helps you out, has a really good year. So I know he moved on to Memphis, but still, I'm going to give Shane a little bit of credit on what he's already done in the portal, and has done more with less in the portal, in my opinion, than maybe any other coach in the SEC. It's just not the names in lights, and it's not the names with 5 stars next to them, so we don't all pee our pants and talk about how they're automatically going to be amazing. But it was tough to keep them off there just because you do have Dylan Stewart, and you do have Clayton White, who I think is a vastly underrated defensive coordinator, and a couple other guys. I mean, Judge Collier's been in this secondary for a while. DQ Smith's been in this secondary forever. So those guys have played. Those guys know what it's all about. I think there's a chance they still have a really good defense, just maybe not top 5 right this second. I'll give you an underrated group I think is going to be Vanderbilt. I think since Clark Lee took back over, they've been much better. I love Corday Snyder off the edge. I think he's a guy that can cause some problems. Miles Capers made big plays last year. Linus Zunk showed a little something off the edge, big 95. And then you go get a Keanu Cope from Alabama that probably athletically is going to be different than anybody they have. He's going to be able to come in and help you out and make you a little bit different. Langston Patterson tackled everybody. He's going to be back. He was beat up at times last year. So I think Vanderbilt probably has the most to gain based on what people think of them right now. Are they top 5? No. But I think they have a chance to be above middle of the pack in the SEC defensively this year. 1, because of who's calling the plays. 2, because they have a lot of guys that have done it together. And 3, they just have some guys that have done good things where they are. I think they need a little bit more help inside, and I think they need a little bit more athleticism on the perimeter. But they have players who, I mean, Derrick Wright, C.J. Taylor being gone at safety, good and bad. Those guys brought leadership and made some plays, but there were areas in which they struggled. But I don't think that that's not something that they can overcome. Also, you look at Vandy, 73% of their production coming back would be 10th for Bill Connolly. Tennessee, I think, just too much gone. You lose too much at linebacker. You lose too much off the edge. You lose too much at defensive tackle. Now you just had a corner hit the portal. I think the defensive line still has a chance to be pretty good. It's not going to be anywhere near it was last year without that rotation. And that's what made it lethal last year is you had so many bodies that you could roll in. But Jackson Moy can play. Bryson Eason can play. I think Joshua Josephs can get it off the edge. Now he's not Pierce, but he's good. And Dominic Bailey showed some things late last year. So I think when he got his opportunities, he did some good things. It's just I don't think you're going to be the same at linebacker. Aaron Carter being back will help. But this defense is going to be a little bit too different, in my opinion, to be in the top 5 without that depth up front on the defensive line, which was dominant at times last year, just absolutely dominant. Really good, just probably not top 5 right now for me. Texas A&M, so much going on that defensive line. Now, 73% of their production back according to Bill Connolly, which is 12th in college football. But you can't take Nick Scorton away and tell me that just everything's going to be okay. I can't go for that, like 2 Chainz told us. But also when you go to Shamar Turner being gone, who was inside, who was outside, and was just a problem on a very consistent basis, I don't know how many of these guys are going to be able to physically do some of the things that those 2 are doing. The defensive line takes massive hits. Therefore, it's going to be hard for me to believe that it can be close to what it was. Now, adding TJ Searcy, I do think helps from Florida because athletically he's got some gifts. And then being in the system year 2 is going to help. But top 5 was not really an option for me for that A&M defense right now. Ole Miss, once again, too much production gone, only 45% back. You go get Prince Unmenmielen, and you go get Deshaun Womack, a defensive end from LSU, but you're losing some high-end guys. I mean, Chris Paul was elite. Prince Lee was big time off the edge. J.J. Pegues was a problem. So I think that what Pete Golding has done is flying under the radar, and he deserves a little more credit. And being in that system again with how he's adapted and altered some things can still make them good. But being close to what they were last year, I find that hard to believe and tough to imagine. Mississippi State, it's just they got to get more bodies in. And they get a ton of dudes out of the portal. Red Hibbler from NC State, Dwight Lewis from Marion. Hadn't seen the tape on him. Don't really know. But they do have some production back. And then structurally, too, I think Coleman's just got to figure out exactly what they want to be the majority of the time and the percentage of snaps they play in different things. And once they find a home there, they'll be able to grow and hopefully put a better product on the field. Kentucky's an interesting one. because we're just used to it being good under Brad White. And we all just think, well, Brad's going to have it right because I think Brad's one of the better defensive coordinators in the SEC, and there's no way it won't be good. Personnel-wise, this might be one of his bigger challenges. You got a lot of dudes up front coming in from the portal, and we don't know exactly how that's going to work out. David Gusta, what I see on film, solid, pretty good player. You got Josiah Haynes, Khalil Saunders that have played that can help you. Deion Walker was hit and miss last year, so you lose some, but I don't think you lose as much as maybe the draft will tell us. J.J. Weaver, De'Aaron Jackson, Dumas Johnson, those guys have been playing for a long time. Rabibka has been playing for a long time. That hurts to lose guys like that. The secondary with Childress gone, Story gone, and Maxwell Harrison gone, even though he was out most of last year, it's going to be tough. That's going to be tough to replace. But Jordan Lovett can play. Alex Afari's new home at linebacker worked out fairly well. And the structure will help some of those guys. And Davin Rayner has also played. He's been in there. So this may be one similar to Vanderbilt that no one's going to talk about going into the year. And all of a sudden you look up and say, man, they're 32nd in total defense. Because the offense, number one, will support that and should aid in that. But it's tough to look at the personnel based on what's been there other years and immediately feel better than we normally do going into a season under Brad White there in Lexington. The Auburn defense, one that I feel like has a chance to potentially surprise. Auburn has more guys with higher ceilings going into this year than I think I have allowed myself to believe in the last, 4, 5, maybe 6 years. Because you do have a couple guys that might be legit takeover guys. Like DeMarcus Riddick could be one of those guys. Like he could dominate a game. Keldrick Falk could dominate a game. Is there going to be guys inside? Probably not. But I said on this show, it felt like every week last year, like, damn, 97 again, played really well. Quintrell, Jamison, Travis, and nobody talks about him and nobody gives him any credit, but like he's just taking on double teams and forcing run plays to bounce out a little bit. Kieron Crawford will fill the void left by Jalen McLeod being gone. And Jalen McLeod probably played off the ball more than anybody thought he was going to. Crawford has that athleticism. He can do different things. And you got some guys on the back end that are going to return that have played. Caleb Harris, Kayan Lee, Champ Anthony. So I think the secondary will be okay. I think the linebacker core could be pretty good. Eugene Asante, Dorian Mousey, Austin Keys all gave you good reps at different times, and they were vets. But you may have a new takeover guy there that can be problematic. So Falk and Crawford can give you a good edge presence. And the inside will be a question mark again. You add a couple more through the portal. You hope that recruiting's been working well. But I do think that having your defense coordinator solidified, moving forward, could allow this defense to be a little bit better than people believe. There's not a lot of wow factor to it right now, and that's okay. You don't have to have that to be good on defense because it's a collective situation. But you'd like to have a guy or two that are going to be a little bit more scary more consistently at different levels. Arkansas is a really intriguing group. I love Travis Williams. I thought Travis did a great job last year. Landon Jackson obviously going to be gone, and he was huge. He was a guy that just he made things happen. I thought Eric Gregory played good football last year. He's going to be gone. But the linebacker turnover kind of continues as now you get Steven Dix Jr. back, who was a little bit more of a hybrid, do different things linebacker, and Xavier Sorey can absolutely fly. He'll be back. The secondary has had turnover after turnover, and Travis has sort of been able to manage that and sort of understand what that's going to look like. This is probably one of my bigger question marks in the league right now. No question mark with Xavier Sorey. Dix Jr., I got a pretty good idea what he's capable of. I know what Cam Ball's going to give you, but there's just a lot of areas that I look at and say, like, I know what Larry Worth can do, but there's a couple areas I look at and say, I just don't know. Might be okay, might be great, might be bad. I don't know exactly what they're going to give you. Justice Boone comes in from Florida, big-time talent. How's he going to fit? Don't really know. So really it feels like kind of for Arkansas, there's only one way to go because the expectation is not going to be there with this group. And if they go out and put together a top 50 defense, I think people are going to be pleased and feel pretty good about it. So that's kind of my top 5 with a little bit on all the other ones with where we stand right now. This is going to change. This is going to be different. So stay tuned here to the show. Support Wickles Pickles. Go to Fanatics Live. Check out Pizza Pulls Tuesday around between 11 and 12. We're going to be ripping some cards there if you want to get in. Probably Topps Finest, Topps Chrome, and definitely some college football. We've got some Bowman's Best left, some Bowman Sapphire left. We'll be ripping some of that over at Pizza Pulls. And we appreciate the sponsors of the show and appreciate you being a part of the show. Love the comments. Leave your questions. When you want us to get to this off season, we can do some of that. And we will be back. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back next week.